begin? We're all looking for the promised land. And in the end, we just need someone to hold our hands. Everybody needs some kind of refuge, something to run to, someone who loves you. I'll be the light guiding you through the night when the stars just refuse to shine. And I'll be your shelter, that safe place to hide, your sanctuary.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Everybody's Addicted. Today, I have Rob with me, and he's been sober for about a year now and looking a lot better, probably, and feeling a lot better, probably. So, let's hear what he has to say about his story and how he's gotten to this point. So, Rob,
Well,
how are you?
afternoon, guys. Sorry.
How are you?
I'm good. Feeling a lot better, that's for sure. I mean, going from 125 pounds a year ago to 200 pounds now is a big stretch, and the health that goes along with it is a lot better, that's for sure.
Well, that was like me. I was 70 pounds when I got sober, and I had to drink Ensures because I was so skinny. I thought I was good. If I got sick, I would die. And
Oh
you
boy.
probably felt the same way because you just don't look the same either, right?
Absolutely not. No energy, no self-confidence, nothing.
Exactly. So, anyways, sorry.
All right, well, I'll give you a little bit of my story. Well, I'm Rob. I'm 31 years old, and for the last 16 years, I was addicted to various drugs, partying. My childhood was fairly normal, other than some severe childhood traumas that I faced. I guess you could say I'd rather not share, but I, my upbringing was still normal in a way. I guess you could say to me, I put everything on the back burner. I decided that I wasn't going to deal with anything that I needed to. And I quickly found an outlet, and that was hockey. Starting high school, I was against all drugs because of the athleticism in my life. I strived to go somewhere of hockey, and if that failed, I wanted to teach children. But quickly, into a month of grade, into a month of grade nine, I was sick of getting bullied. I was sick of getting picked on. I needed to find some way to make a proper friend. And that's how my substance abuse of marijuana started at the age of 14. I
That's how
found
I started
somebody,
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
I found somebody that was evidently the wrong friend, I guess you could say. And peer pressure was definitely an outlying factor. Because of being bullied in elementary school all the time, I needed to find that one friend. So I thought I found that one friend, but little did I know he would introduce me to what the rest of my life would look like. Miraculously, I graduated high school. I spiraled out of control afterwards. My disrespect towards my family accelerated to disrespect to all my friends. Quickly, my hockey career was coming to a halt because of concussions, because of drug use, because of just pure depression, I guess you could say. And I didn't want to do anything anymore. So I found myself moving into a very uncontrollable environment at a small room at a friend's house, and this is where the substance abuse evolved into cocaine. I lost many, many, many jobs, and I needed to get my fix some way or another. I had no self confidence in finding another job. I knew I was going to get fired, so I began breaking into commercial properties for cash, a valuable anything that could be sold to achieve the high that I needed. This led me to jail on 3 counts of break and entering. Reluctantly, I went straight back to my habits after being released. I decided that it was time to check myself into a treatment center. Unfortunately, it was only a 21-day program. I did graduate successfully, but I started hanging out with a woman in NA, and they say not to do that, and I can understand why. I was clean
Mm-hmm.
for 6 months. I was clean for 6 months, but hanging out with her, it kind of went down the rabbit hole again.
That happened to me too, and same thing. That person shattered my self-esteem so bad that I went right back out there.
That's
So
it.
I can totally relate. You do not date in those situations.
No, no, especially not having your solid foundation already built up and
Yeah.
something to stand upon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Years later, after this rehab, I met an amazing woman. I got my own place with her. Everything was going great, although I still use cocaine. I called myself a responsible drug user. Do you just tell yourself that everything's going to be okay? Everything, you know what? I'm just using this much here, this much there. That doesn't work. It really, really doesn't. So after 2 years together, we got into a pretty serious fight. She left for her parents for a couple of days. I went over to my friend's house, asked for some drugs, and got handed a pipe. This is where I started doing crack.
Mm-hmm.
I lied, I manipulated, I used who I thought was the love of my life. Evidently, she was not. We had no money or food, and in June 2023, after 5 years together of pleading for me to get help, I didn't have her. If there was any control over my life, it was now gone. With no power or running water, my life became increasingly unmanageable. My family blocked any contact with me because of the things I did, asking for money. I always owed money to the wrong people, always. And it eventually led me to getting held hostage and beat up pretty bad.
That's
I
really
sat
scary.
very, very scary. I got forced into a car. I got taken to a motel, was forced to sit there with a knife to my throat, knife to my kidney, on the phone with whoever I could, begging for money. Um, Basically, if I gave any inclination of where I was on the phone, they would have slit my throat. I wouldn't be here right now. For some reason, I don't know why, but they let me go. I got home that night and I went upstairs, went outside for a smoke after a couple hours, and this car kept circling my block. So I decided, you know what, this is not cool. I went back upstairs, I locked the doors, I locked everything, I intently watched my cameras, and they went black. So I went outside. All my cameras on my house were cut, and I needed to get out of there. So I knew I couldn't pay for a cab to my mother's house, but I took one anyways. I couldn't get in. She didn't want nothing to do with me, and I ended up going to the hospital. It turns out that the whole right side of my face, there was 3 orbital bone fractures, and they pretty much caved in my cheekbone.
Oh God.
Yeah, that was pretty well got me on my way to my rock bottom. After the hospital visit, my mom allowed me to move back in with her on the promises that I would go back to rehab. I still lied. I still manipulated. I still used whoever I could at that point to get money for drugs because I knew, hey, you know what? It's September. You're going to rehab in November.
Mm-hmm.
You
Last
got a little
hurrah.
exactly. You got a little bit of time. Let's go. Let's have some more fun. So I heard about this program. It's called Teen Challenge. I know the name is quite deceiving, teen, but in 1952, it was made for teens. It is the largest based rehab center in the entire world. They have 1,400 rehab centers all over 139 countries. So on November 28th, 2023, I entered my year-long live-in rehabilitation center. 40 different guys, 40 different attitudes every morning. It was a struggle, but I knew it wouldn't work if I didn't want it.
Well, the longer I watch a lot of intervention, and I know like from what they say on there, like the longer you stay, the better it is. Like, even though you have to deal with other people and that's stressful, but the longer you stay out of your atmosphere, like your regular atmosphere and in their programs and stuff, the more likely you're going to be successful with sobriety, right? So
Exactly.
you putting up with everybody else and actually doing that was like probably what is brought you to today, right? But
Exactly.
probably wasn't easy. Like I never went to rehab. And I always kind of wondered what it was like, but listening to you say like everybody else's personalities, if I'm an only child, it probably would have been really, really difficult for me to do because I'm not used to other people around me besides like my children, I guess, right? But I like to go and be alone a lot, and that
Mhm.
would you can't do that. So, um, I commend you on doing that and finally like finding your bottom and knowing it and getting better because like just even listening to you talk, I can tell that like you have been through a lot, but you are able to talk about it, meaning like that the more you're able to talk about it, I feel like the more you're able to start to heal and understand it and understand yourself, right?
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, I've done speaking at AA back when I was 24, but that was, like I said, I was sober, but I dated in AA. So I kind of felt like a fraud when I was talking because I was 13 stepping and I was like not saying anything about it. So it was what led to obviously being an addict again because wasn't being honest with myself, right? So
Mhm.
I think being able to spend like that much time away and being able to reflect and being able to be honest with yourself, like that's incredibly like important, right?
Absolutely. And they,
But
they they say like the 21-day programs, yeah, it's too short. It is. It's basically like a staycation.
my
That's
friend,
all.
oh, I was just saying my friend just got out of one and she could only do that because she has a like 2 year old, so she couldn't be away for very long. And she struggling so much because she wasn't there for very long. And she says like she talks to me a lot about how much she's struggling because she doesn't have the support system they have there because
Mhm.
21 days is not long enough to fully get the support you need, right? And she's
Yeah.
feeling that. So I get why you really didn't get much out of it, right?
No, no, the year program, it was extremely tough. Yes, the good thing about being away that long is, like you said, you're out of your environment, you're out of that atmosphere. Um, but it's also at the same time a different kind of test with like I said, the different attitudes, the different personalities. You're taught patience, you're taught perseverance, and it kind of rewires the brain a little bit for when you get out and you come into the real life again. You now have that sense in the back of your head saying, you know what, okay, that's probably wrong, as it when before that was impossible because you're on a one lane highway.
And I
It's
like, oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
I just said I like when you said like when you were 14 because you were bullied, you just needed that friend. And I was the exact same way because I was bullied too. And it's like the like you just want a friend and you also don't you're so young you don't know how to cope with things going on in your life so then you get that friend and then that and like yes she only smoked weed with me and at that first time and you're right it set the tone for my whole life and I never thought about smoking weed so young really did set the tone for my life because I remember going to school and bragging and being like, I smoked weed and you guys haven't smoked weed yet. I'm so cool, blah, blah, blah. Right. So
Exactly.
it really did set that tone of that was going to be the clique I was going to go with. And then, eventually get into cocaine and yeah, I was an alcoholic and then I got into opiates and fentanyl later on, but that wasn't really the fentanyl addiction was only because we couldn't afford the opiates anymore, right? Because opiates are so expensive. And that was because I was grieving my dad like passing, right? But with the alcohol, it was like you said, like I just had such bad anxiety. I didn't know how to talk to people because I was bullied. So I would just drink so that I could be social and get along with people and fit in and stuff. And I mean, it does really come back to like certain things like that in childhood, you know? And
But
everybody's trying to numb something they don't want to feel, right? Well, people who are using substances, right? And
exactly.
like I know what you're talking about with at the motels and that like they're dangerous
Yes.
places.
Very.
Dangerous. So I know like I can't believe you got out alive. Like that is crazy that they even kidnapped you. How did they kidnap you?
Well, I was at the casino looking for drugs, and I seen one of the persons that I owed money to, and they basically said, "Okay, you're coming with me." I mouthed as much as I could to the security guards. They laughed, said, "Have a good night." I was like, "Hey, I need to go to the bathroom." They're like, "Nope, you're staying right here with me. Their people are on their way." So I got shoved into a car, and immediately, as soon as I got in the car, there's these steel bars with like tape on the end of them for like hand grips and stuff. I was like, "Oh no, this is not good. Like I'm screwed." So I can hear them talking in the front seat about where to take me, and they take me. They're like, "Yeah, okay, I'm going to take you to this one guy's house, and you're probably not going to get out." So immediately in the car, I'm like, "Oh, this is it. Like I'm done. I can't even call my family. I can't even. Sitting there reminiscing. You got yourself into this. Why didn't you just pay them? Like it's and that's the thing with addiction is it's that next time, and you don't
You don't
care
want to
about
waste the money paying them back when you want to buy more of what you want.
exactly. You don't think about the right things to do. You don't think about the logical things to do, or you don't think about tomorrow. You're in one
Nope.
spot and one spot only.
Don't
And
want to feel the withdrawal. That is an addict's biggest fear, at least from
exactly,
everybody I talk to. So you'd rather spend your money on not feeling sick because getting sick is the worst, right? And
exactly,
you would
exactly.
know that. So,
Yeah, and you don't care about what can happen to you. It's like, oh yeah, I'll figure that out an hour from now. I'll figure that out, and you just keep
hmm
procrastinating. The procrastination is it's a new level with addiction, and it just doesn't stop.
no,
So being able to remove yourself for a year out of the atmosphere, like you said, it's crucial. It's very crucial, and a lot of these I've looked up other rehab centers, and a lot of them want like $30,000.
hmm
It's absolutely astronomical. And this teen challenge place, by the grace of God or whatever, I found it, and it's only $1,100 for an entire year.
Wow, really? That's
One,
something
one,
that is
that's
good
it.
to like put out there. So again, say that because like anybody listening, that is incredibly affordable for anyone, I think. So can you say it
Exactly.
again?
It's $1,100 for the entire year, and if you seriously cannot pay, they're not going to turn you away. There's no you have in order to get in. Yeah, it's only drug and alcohol for rehabilitation. Yes, there's other addictions. I understand that. Um, but it's a year live-in rehabilitation center. You live on site for 1 year, um, and you get teach fundamentals again. I was in property maintenance, cutting grass, making cutting boards, making chairs. You can cook. It's entirely self-sustainable on the students. So it teaches you how to wake up, how to go to bed at a certain time. The structure that it's based around is absolutely phenomenal. It teaches you how to be a human being again. It teaches you, like I said earlier, the patience, the perseverance with dealing with other people. So it's basically giving you that foundation, as I said at the beginning, to stand on when you get released, when you leave. Yes, you can leave whenever you want, but that's not the right thing to do. I guess you could say a lot of people go into rehabs because mom, dad, police, court
hmm
said so. They say, hey, the court says you have to do this. It's mandated. Mom and dad say, hey, if you want your family back, you have to do this. A lot of people go into rehab and think that way. A lot of people, and then that's immediately
Yep.
you've basically already failed.
You had to want it yourself in order
That's it.
to get it. And like that was why I kept relapsing on alcohol because I was doing it for other people and trying to make them happy. And I didn't really see like like how bad it really was until I did get sober and look back upon it, right?
Yeah.
And I had to want it myself. And that was like what you just said. You have to want it yourself. You can't do it because somebody else. Otherwise, you're just not going to make it.
No,
And
you're not.
it's so true. You won't like, I'm like, that's why I'm afraid for my friend because she keeps saying to me, like, she wasn't there long enough. And she, like, AA, I'm not the biggest fan of AA. That's just me. I go to a clinic and I use the resources there instead. Or I go to Celebrate Recovery, but
Yeah,
AA is just not something that is for me. And I keep trying to tell her, like, there is other avenues like because she's missing the counseling aspect like the things that they taught you over the course of a year, right?
mhm,
She's missing the fact that she had that and she needs more of that. And I mean there is SOAR that would help a little bit, but I mean it's a lot different than actually being on premises, right?
exactly.
And like I worry for her because of that. And I mean, I hope she manages to not slip up. And she's worried about like, oh, if I smoke weed because they're so anti-weed at AA that they're gonna kick me out. And I'm like, the smoking weed keeps you from drinking right now. Smoke a little bit of weed and go to bed like you said you wanted to because the alcohol is gonna end you back up in jail like you were before, right? Like
Exactly.
so there's so many aspects to it because like I said, like I yes, I'm sober, but I do smoke marijuana from time to time um for my anxiety issues and sleep issues and stuff, but it's not something that I takes over my life or triggers me to do other drugs because I'm on Suboxone, right? So I can't even really do other drugs because I won't feel it. That's the thing about Suboxone. It takes away you can't get high off
Yeah.
opiates or stuff because it blocks the beta blockers in your head, right? So
Yep.
it's a good drug to keep you sober, but I mean, like, I guess you could drink on it, but it's not recommended. But I
No.
mean, obviously, I don't drink, so that's not. But yeah, like, so I like that you were able to share that about Teen Challenge because I've heard of it, but like you said, the name throws you off, right?
It does. It
Like
does.
when I was looking into rehabs, I was the same thing for even 21 day programs, $30,000. Like it was
Yes.
so expensive. I can't afford this. I'm just gonna have to go to the clinic every day for a year, you know what I mean? Which is what I ended up doing. But um yeah, because the name throws you off, I'm just thinking like I can't believe the pricing, like what they were able to give you. I'm so glad that you were able to share that with people because I like you like the name throws you off so much that you wouldn't even think to look into it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
When you see it pop up. And they even have their own podcast actually. And
Do they?
that's how I've seen them is through Addictions podcast and they have their own teen challenge podcast and I
Okay.
thought it was for like teens when I seen it
Yeah.
even then, right? And I've seen like their website before too, so it's good to know that they're not for teens, they're for everybody, right? Like age
Well,
wise.
it's 18 years and older, and that like yeah. So it's called Teen Challenge because, like I said, in 1952, a guy named David Wilkerson he started the in Brooklyn, and there was somebody else somewhere else I can't remember, but there was a big heroin crisis back then.
Oh yeah, back before.
He wanted to get these teens into a rehab center. Yes, it is Christian based. If you're not inclined to doing so,
So is
that's
Celebrate
on you.
Recovery, if I
Yes.
mentioned that. So is Celebrate Recovery
Yep.
just because people don't like religion. Some
Yep.
people, so I'm just mentioning that quickly. Sorry, continue.
No, they actually have Celebrate Recovery. Celebrate Recovery comes every 2 weeks into Teen Challenge. Like I said, it is a solely based Christian based rehab center. Um, but I went into the rehab center, I think, on the fence about God and about anything to do with the big book, and I came out with a whole different perspective. You know what I mean? It's not. I couldn't have done it without finding the guy upstairs. It was completely different outlook on life, I guess you could say. But yeah, Teen Challenge, like I was saying, it was started back then because the teenagers on the streets and the heroin crisis, but it eventually gradually built into, like I said, 1,400 centers all over 139 countries. It is
That's
the
yeah.
largest, cheapest rehab in the world, and it's a year long.
That's like
So,
what I wish I knew or like 4 years ago because I needed that more than
mhm.
I needed to, you know what I mean? Like that's why I'm just like just dumbstruck by like that, right? But
Yeah,
is there anything else you want to say before I let you go? Besides, thanks for sharing so much about that teen
no
challenge and
problem.
your story. But is there anything you want to like let anybody know out there before I let you go?
Just that if one day if you feel helpless, there's help. There's help, and it's not easy. The hardest step is getting out of the car at the rehab center. That's the hardest step. It really is. Actually, you know what? The hardest step is making the decision.
Mhm.
Once you've passed that step, the rest comes. As long as you, with perseverance, as long as you want it, there is always going to be help out there for you.
Well,
Always.
that's perfect. I love that. So I'll leave it at that. And thanks for coming on. I
No problem.
appreciate it so much. And like right now, I'm trying to share a lot of people's stories from Brantford because Brantford is so bad
Oh,
that
it's
I just want to show them that we're normal people too, and not just some of the ones that are really bad, right? And
yeah,
they can even become like how we are now. So I just
exactly.
wanted to show that. That's why I'm trying to bring on people from our city because it's just so has so many issues and it's looked at so negatively, right? But
Mhm.
anyways, thank you for coming on and yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Take care.
You too.
Bye bye.